Hi, ProRaster 4.1 is now available in the Microsoft Store. Go to the Microsoft Store and search for ProRaster, and you'll find ProRaster Essential, ProRaster Premium, and ProRaster Scientific, priced at $29, $59, and $199 respectively. If you already have ProRaster, you'll be receiving this update automatically via the store. Otherwise, go to the store and you can download any ProRaster product for a 7-day free trial prior to purchasing if you desire. To find out what's in the latest version, go to the Roberts Geospatial website. So here's the product page where you can find general information about current releases. Here's the ProRaster updates page where you'll find a complete history of all the updates made to ProRaster. Go to the ProRaster Scientific Updates page to find all of the new features, improvements, modifications, and bug fixes in each version of ProRaster that's been released. And finally, go to the ProRaster Roadmap page to see some of the new features that are in development and might be coming in future versions, and also to make suggestions about things you'd like to see in the product. Let's recap the major capabilities of ProRaster. This is ProRaster Scientific. The top section of the dialog is dedicated to creating and editing rendering algorithms, which are arbitrarily complicated algorithms that you can use to render gridded data, raster data, imagery, as well as generate contours, display huge point clouds, and render surfaces draped with imagery in 3D. So, for example, we have a simple algorithm here for a Landsat scene, and if I open a map of that scene, you can see this is Dubai, and if we zoom in on the airport, you can see that it's been hit and there's a fire at the airport. The second major capability uses virtual raster technology to work with multispectral satellite imagery. So, for example, from Landsat or Sentinel-2 satellites. There are two systems. Firstly, you can link your scenes into a scene database, and this is all done via the Scene Database menu button. And then, having created your scenes, you can generate products from your scenes, and this allows you to do cascading virtual processing operations on mosaics and composite mosaics and temporal composite mosaics to both render your data and to do sophisticated analysis on your multispectral imagery. There is no easier way to do real work and real analysis of satellite multispectral imagery than with ProRaster Scientific. The third major capability is our raster processing capability. This uses virtual rasters to execute processing operations in real time. This gives you a try before you buy capability. So if you want to process a huge raster, you can do it instantly using these operations, make sure that it's correct, and then go on to actually execute the operation and process the entire raster at its base resolution. The fourth major capability in ProRaster Scientific is huge point cloud processing. So we can import huge point clouds, we can display them, and then we can grid them in real time. So there's a new format called the MRP format, and into an MRP format you can import LiDAR data, that is pulse return data, from LAS or LAS files, or you can import general multi-banded point data from any kind of ASCII file. You can easily work with tens or hundreds of billions of points on relatively modest hardware. Once you've imported your points into an MRP file, you can then perform virtual gridding. And this is, much like raster processing, a try before you buy type of operation. So it grids in real time as you're exploring your data and gives you an opportunity to get your gridding parameters right before you execute an operation to process the entire data set and generate a grid for the highest resolution. So we have nearest neighbor, triangulation and tension minimum curvature gridding algorithms. And for tension minimum curvature, there is also an extension called automated trend reinforcement. And for things like potential field data, like magnetics or gravity data, this provides an extraordinary capability that improves the continuity of trends in your data, and the quality of your output grids is substantially improved. So all of those capabilities are in ProRaster Scientific. Dropping down to ProRaster Essential, you get all of the rendering and mapping capability. In the multispectral imagery, you get the scene database, so you can work with scenes, but you don't get the product processing capability. On the raster processing menu, there's only a limited number of raster processors available to you. You can merge and you can create clip masks, and the point processing menu is not available to you. Stepping up to ProRaster Premium, you get everything that's in ProRaster Essential. So you've got all the rendering, you've got your multispectral scene database, and on the raster processing menu, you have exporting capabilities, so you can export imagery from your algorithms or you can export rasters. And again, you don't have any point processing capability. So ProRaster Essential is for exploring data. ProRaster Premium is for sharing that data. And ProRaster Scientific is for makers, the people who make data. A lot of the work on ProRaster 4.1 is behind the curtain. So we've done a lot of optimization, and you'll notice the improved performance when you're using ProRaster. So you're going to get more performance on the same hardware using less memory with ProRaster 4.1. In addition, there are a couple of new features. The first is a new map tool. Right-click on a map and you'll find the line of sight tool. So we'll take a look at that. And secondly, there's some new capabilities in the scene assembly virtual raster for multispectral imagery. And that flows through to a new product creation option when you're creating composite products for scenes or mosaics or temporal mosaics. So we'll take a look at that in a sec. The line of sight tool tells you what parts of the terrain are visible from an observer location. So I'm looking at Glow 30 terrain here. So if I zoom into my hometown, right-click on the map and choose line of sight and then draw. Click on your observer location and then you can drag your line of sight traverse around. You can see that it's displayed in both a dark color and a light color. The dark color is parts of the terrain that are visible to you from that observer position, and the light color are parts of the terrain that are not visible to you. As you drag your traverse around, you'll also see a profile of the terrain data displayed, in this case in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. And again, you're looking at a dark color for visible and a light color for not visible to you from that location. So there's all sorts of options for the position of the observer and various other things, and I'll look at that in another video. But this gives you a interactive capability to explore. For example, if I built a house here, what kind of ocean views would I get, and would I be able to see any of the hinterland, etc. And you can explore those sort of questions with this tool. The second new feature are some new extensions to the Scene Assembly Virtual Raster for multispectral imagery. So we have a Landsat scene visible on screen. And if you look at the fields and bands in here, here's all of our spectral fields. Here's the mask field. In the mask field, there's a new band called pixel quality. And this is a measure of the quality of every pixel. So it's going to look at all sorts of things like the amount of cloud, the spectral characteristics of those pixels, and come up with a number from 0 to 100, which registers from low quality to high quality. Secondly, there's a new constants field. And in here we've got some constant data. This is data that does not change over the entire scene. So for example, for this scene we have the acquisition and processing time, the cloud cover over the scene and land, and in this case as it's Landsat we have the path and the row. So you can use that data when, for example, you can use the acquisition time data when you're doing composites to have a look at where the acquisition time of every pixel in your scene. So on screen we have one scene here. You can see that it's cloud affected. If I flip to the pixel quality, you can see that we have this red area, which is high values, which indicating that we have high quality. And then these cloudy areas, it goes green and then darker blue, depending on how impenetrable the cloud is. And that gives an indication of quality for every pixel. The last new feature is an extension to compositing scenes from multispectral imagery. So I'm going to go into my scene database. This is for the Strait of Hormuz. And I have a collection of scenes, and many of them have been repeated at multiple times. So I'm just going to select them all, and I'm going to create a composited mosaic. So firstly, I'm going to order these scenes by acquisition date. So I want the earliest to latest data. I want the latest data, the most recently acquired data where I can. Now, compositing used to require you to clip the data, clip out the cloud, for example, and then replace the cloud pixels with other scene data where it was higher quality. Now we can just simply use the pixel quality as the measure for how we will retain pixels. So we're going to return pixel data wherever it's available, even if it's cloud, but where we have more than one pixel available from overlapping scenes, we're going to choose the highest quality. So hit OK, and it's going to create that product, and I can then render that product and hit OK. So here's my rendered algorithm. So we have all of those scenes rendered. We've still have cloud because in some areas we had no pixel repeats that were any better than these cloudy ones. But where we have overlapping scenes, multiple scenes collected at different dates, we've chosen the best quality pixels to retain in that scenario. And if I can just show you again, I'm going to add a LUT color layer. I'm going to go to that composited mosaic. I'll go to the constants field and go to acquisition time. So just a demonstration here that you can see that we've chosen pixels from different acquisition times based on that pixel quality. And if I put on my tooltip, it will tell us what that acquisition time is for every pixel in this composite mosaic. So those are the new features in version 4.1 of ProRaster. The line of sight tool is in ProRaster Essential, Premium and Scientific, as are the improvements to the Scene Assembly Virtual Raster. But the ability to use that pixel quality measure to create a composite product is only available in ProRaster Scientific. Thanks for watching.